question?
Well, just a couple of things. Well, first of all, someone was not paying attention to the performance of the engineer in this case, and that's a shortcoming of our safety program. That needs to be corrected. We did put some provisions after this crash in for positive train control. I'm concerned now that we may be spreading some of that money too thin. It needs to be where we have the greatest risk, and trying to make certain that we get in place that control as soon as possible, that technology as soon as possible where, again, there is a risk. What concerns me is, and I think you had alluded to it, is the adequacy of the level of liability, responsibility, and then did you tell me that a foreign entity, there were some questions as to their responsibility in making payments, and does that need to be corrected under current law, Mr. Gallegly?
I clearly believe that it does. I think that this was probably an unintended consequence of the 1997 bill. You know, sometimes we don't understand problems that are created not intentionally, but they are. Mm-hmm. And clearly, the fact that when you have the number of people that were critically injured and the number of people that perished, the numbers, while it seems like $200 million seems like a lot of money, but when you start adding it up, when you have to start, as Mackenzie alluded to, the judge's task in deciding who's going to get what, and knowing clearly there will not be the money to take care of the victims.
But did the foreign entity...
Oh, the foreign entity here, of course, was...
they were not required to be liable, and did they have coverage?
Well, the issue is that I believe that was an unintended consequence. They are, since they were operating a public transit system that was covered, they are arguing that as a result of that legislation, their liability is capped at $200 million, even though they had multiples of that type of coverage, because obviously you don't go out and buy $600 or $700 million worth of insurance unless you think potentially you may have a need for it.
So there's a question again in clarifying the law, so that when you have an instance like this, that if you do have a set cap and then say responsibility above that, that we need to better define again those terms.
And clearly, I don't know how that's going to affect retroactively to the previous tragedy, but clearly we need to fix this in the future. We don't have to look too far to see what happened down in the Gulf with the BP tragedy, and there were limits of liability there. And I'm not here to defend BP under any set of circumstances, but they did step up to the plate and offer and have paid many multiples of what their actual legal limits were. And I would hope that Veolia, in this case, for the victims that we have, not only for the victims, but for the American taxpayers as well, because that's where ultimately the burden is going to lie, at the feet of the American taxpayers, for an incident that clearly was a responsibility of a company that is foreign-based.
There's under 3 minutes to vote. The gentleman from New Jersey has a brief question, I believe, and then we're going to recess.
I just wonder if after this accident, have you noticed that the company has taken any steps to make sure this doesn't happen, to monitor these engineers, to make sure that that nobody else is doing anything similar to this?
Well, you know, of course, they lost the contract with the Metrolink and was not renewed. As it relates, we have changed some of the regulations and so on and so forth, but the thing that I think is most disturbing is that the leaders of Veolia have said that their hearts and prayers are with the victims. However, their pocketbooks so far have not been.
Thank the gentleman, and thank the gentleman from California for being here today, and both the Sousers, thank you for being here. We're going to stand in recess for approximately 15 minutes.
I thank the chairman. Ja, das Wort. Und
Ja.
immerhin